If you don't realize the 3 mistakes you're making when you go to a new map in Apex Legends, like Storm Point in Season 11, then watch this clip and see if you notice what I'm talking about.
Uphill right here.
I call mid.
Okay, I'm gonna go right.
Let's see who gets the best. Let's see who gets the best.
Let's hit it
All
all
right,
at the same
3
time.
time. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, what? Are you kidding me?
Bro!
Are you kidding me?
You're freaking out. Look at my pill, dude.
If you don't know what that is, it's from a video called the One Chest Challenge in Apex Legends. Check it out. Courage has done a bunch of these for Warzone, and they usually work pretty well. This is actually a pretty entertaining video with TSM Tanner Slays and Lulu. But what you may have noticed is that everyone else got crappy loot, but Lulu got a gold flatline and a gold helmet. Why is that? Because she knew which chest dropped gold loot every time she landed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a sort of 5 rules type video where we are going to break down 3 mistakes most beginners make that most pros never make, and honestly allow you to learn through the process of what the tried and true have done to figure out how to best learn a new map, because that's coming in Season 11. I also want to say this video is sponsored by EA. Thank you, EA, for sponsoring the video. You're going to see a lot of those here as we finish up Season 10 and move into Season 11. The first thing I want to bring up, because you may still not be believing me, is why learn the map? Well, why care about the map? Let's bring out the trusty notepad here. Why learn the map is a great question, because ultimately, with skill being relatively equal, positioning wins fights, not gun skill. I know, that might be driving some of you crazy, thinking, what do you mean? What was all this Kovacs for? I just bought a pro subscription to AIM Labs. Are you kidding me? Oh, dude. No, the truth is, guys, I don't know whose voice that was. The truth is, guys, positioning oftentimes the determining factor when it comes to being better than somebody else in a fight. You often don't lose because you both stare at each other and just one person hits a headshot and the other doesn't. It happens, but that's not the majority of your fights. You're usually caught out of position, usually not in the right spot. Maybe someone surprised you. All of that has to do with understanding the map, how to use it to your advantage, and making sure that you're one step ahead of the game. So this is the reason why I learned the map, because it will ultimately translate into you winning more fights, which means you will win more games. Now, another big thing we have to get into before we go into Storm Point, because I will have a few tips on that and how you can, later on in this video, take these tips to actually make an action plan on how to learn the map as fast as possible. Something that I've done is you have to focus on the loot. You have to focus on the loot in a big way. In this little blog we're going to go over, we're going to talk a little bit about maps and how Apex likes to design maps. And I've been very aware of how Apex has done this. In fact, I have a video here that's called Ranking Every Location and explaining every map location and loot in Apex Legends. This was one of my first videos when Apex Legends started. It's got over 580,000 views. And I've done this video a couple times, and they always work pretty well. And it basically goes through every single location, giving you an idea of how much the loot is, what rarity, what you can expect, what type of fights are like, and more importantly, what are the rotations like to and from that zone? What can you expect when you land? Murder Train, my boy, pretty hair. Shout outs to the family. But let's get back to this, and we'll start getting into some of these tips. The first mistake is, of course, not understanding attacking and defending depends on your map knowledge. Once you have your map knowledge, you can make the right call. We're going to go into an example with the ALGS in one moment, and keep your eyes open as I read this, because you're going to see a few things that Storm Point is doing that some of these other areas of the map, or some of these other maps in Apex Legends have also done. And you have to understand the quirks, the mechanics, gravity cannons. Here it is. This is a new way to get around an Apex Legends Storm Point. If you're not using them, if you're not aware of them, you're going to die by people you don't see coming, and you're not going to be able to escape situations you could have gotten out cleanly. All the balloons are gone. So redeploy balloons are going to be a very thing of the past when you play this map. You're going to have to get used to these gravity cannons, which for me, having played Halo growing up, this reminds me a lot of what was in that game. They are an excellent method to outrun the ring. They're a great way to stay a little bit later, loot up, take a later fight, knowing you have a gravity cannon around. It will help smarter players keep that in the back of their mind, and it launches you into this direction. Having seen this in game, it actually does move very quickly. This is actually feeling a little slower than it would move. It seems very fast. You also have complete control of grenades, weapons, tactical abilities, ultimates when traveling through the air. So don't be afraid to be a Bangalore. Throw down your ultimate, right as you're using this. So anybody who follows you will be hit with your ultimate once they land, and also you'll be able to get out scot-free because you've already landed early enough and you're ready to make that quick, daring escape. Little things like that are going to make the difference for you. When you go into it, it's also teamed with wildlife, which is one thing that this is a little bit of a mistake that I think we can learn here that most people ignore when they start learning new maps. It's learning the mechanics, and in this case, animals and the loot. Now, every map typically has a mechanic. It has a thing that makes it a little bit different. Kings Canyon was kind of our base, but you saw that even in the back introduction of Kings Canyon, we started to see flyers as they started to update that. And these are winged animals that would bring cases of loot that you could shoot down and have them fall down into wherever you were and provide you with different shields and also attract a lot of enemies who are ready to kill you. But this ultimately is what I think the big point is that in this map, more so than any other, Stormpoint has a lot of mechanics that play to the strengths of being a viable, real-world strategy to be better. In World's Edge, you saw mechanics of certain areas, like the Bloodhound Trials, where prowlers were around. You can get gold loot for finishing off a mini game, which is, a fun way and a very significant way, especially in high-level pro play, which I cast, to be able to earn loot while doing something that warms up your gun skill. I think it's an underrated aspect of that landing zone. And also have a northern rotation so you can get some really good areas. Now, before we get into the next part of this, learning the mechanics for this map includes prowlers, includes spiders, which is new. Spiders will be found in these eggs, and you can shoot them and they will fall out and attack you. And also flyers, which we have seen before. Now, the difference in these things is that spiders, flyers, and prowlers will offer not only you loot, but they will offer you certain bonuses as you clear them up and be seen across the map. These things are going to be very important. I think there's two reasons why they'll be very, very important. The third, not so much, but I think they're two very, very important reasons. One, they give you drops. And these drops are smart drops, meaning that you're going to be able to get attachments and ammo for the weapons you're using. So it's almost like if you go to a crafting material or a crafting area, you can choose to craft and they'll give you energy ammo or light ammo if you're carrying an energy weapon and a light weapon. Vice versa, if you carried a heavy weapon and a shotgun, they would give you heavy ammo and shotgun ammo. These spiders, these prowlers, these flyers will automatically give you the ammo you need, which could be huge in a pinch. If you're rotating, if you've just taken a heavy fight, you don't have any boxes that you can loot anymore, you're holding down a position, there's a prowler nest next to you, it's a bit of a risk, but if you know the map well enough and you know what it takes to kill those prowlers, you might be able to get a lot of loot, a few shield batteries, and re-up for the next fight. Secondly, Evo Points. This is a big deal. Sometimes in high level, people are trading Evo shields, which is the shield that allows you to shoot and actually gain damage and then thus gain shielding as you do more damage in the game. You can now transport a little bit of that damage, I believe it was 25%, to the wildlife that is there in the game. So that's another cool thing, and I think these two specifically, they'll also give you a bunch of crafting materials, which is cool. That's the third thing. That's not bad, but I think those two first things I mentioned will be a huge part. So again, number one, a mistake some people don't use, and I think a lot of people are going to be abusing right now, especially as pros, learning the mechanics, the loot, the animals. This is going to be a big part of Stormpoint. Secondly, attacking or defending depends on your map knowledge. Once you understand that, you can make the right call. And I want to show you exactly what I mean by this final series in the ALGS Championship, where a $2.8 million prize pool was on the line. Take a look at a little bit of what happened here, and I'm actually casting.
To rotate right underneath that God spot, so they're not going to have to worry about the pressure of the poke coming from above them, since they will, of course, avoid line of sight. Meanwhile, Pander's under quite a bit of... oh, nope, sorry, I take that back. He's actually going to be on top of the building there. Speaking of line of sight, got caught off guard there. But one team's going to have to rotate through that defensive bombardment. Great nade's going to land, and Obey is in a great spot to win this game here.
Oh, man, what a God spot. 9 squads left. Things are only heating up a little bit more. This is game 2. This is the championship, so you need to hit shots like that if you're going to raise the trophy, and you know every team wants to. It's been 16 months in the making, and game 2 could be pivotal for these teams battling it out after weeks of effort, and NRG still in a beautiful position. 7 squads left, John. And bottom 20, they can move in right here. I think Wally Catchers is still alive on the backside, but that's Onmu. He finds Sweet.
There it is. And that's what I was saying. Such an interesting rotation from NRG. Obviously, they avoid the Godspot fight, but here comes the drop actually going to come through from Music Flower, and Uri's going to join the action. So it was an interesting decision, you know, good on paper, but of course, you're going to be focused by so many different angles from the rest of the lobby, and that's ultimately what happened. NRG eliminated again outside of the top 7 here. Obey still find themselves with the win condition, with Godspot in a great position to close this out. We have Alpine still alive, but a lot of our top teams, heavy hitters, are not in this lobby. No Team Liquid, no TSM, no NRG, no G2, and the like. Sentinel's also out instead. Again, that Cinderella story of some of these underrated, maybe dark horse teams performing very well to start here. One of them is going to be ESA Black, currently on rooftops.
Obey with a strong, decent start. Can they continue what they have done? ESA Black have looked fantastic so far. They're in a pretty decent spot. Obey probably claims the lobby, though. And what will Panders do about it? He's got a G7 Scout. He is equipped, and he is on the Valkyrie. A skyward dive, most likely. It would guarantee his team to die within moments. But he's got to use whatever mobility he has to get the advantage. He climbs up to the top and Obey. Oh, maybe it's not so good to be God. Sometimes you find out gods bleed, and Obey loses one.
That was a disgusting nade, a sick nade from Six himself.
I like that line.
Saying, I'm feeling more confident in this team than any roster before. That says a lot. Coming from the Yeet squad with Nicewig, they won a championship in the past. And now Six with a huge name, not going to capitalize or use anything. They could have potentially used a Valkyrie ult there to try and take high ground, but of course that would have been ultra risky. So Obey will be able to heal back up. Nonetheless, a nice grenade from Six. Here comes the push.
And this is what you want to see. ESA Black pushing in, taking low ground, looting up as much as they can. He wants a big red Evo if possible. He just wants a full shield at this point, and he got both. They're going to destroy the jump pad, deny mobility, and they're going to look to climb maybe to the middle side of this and use it as a defensive location to barrier off the teams who are going to have to climb this hill. It's not D-Day, but it feels like it's doomsday for those looking up as all the damage is raining from above. Obey picking up scissors, and Moose and Flower as well going down. Obey still looking strong here in the final circle. Final 4 coming at you.
This does certainly seem like a scene from World War II right now with Obey raining down fire. You see the picture-in-picture in their point of view at the bottom right of your screen right there. Great job from them, but also a heads-up play from ESA Black to get right beneath them, basically guaranteeing themselves second place here if they can stay alive.
They got to drop, though.
And here comes the drop coming through. Nice shots getting put in to actually stop them for now. And, of course, the Dome Shield's going to come through as well. Great timing for that Dome Shield. Here comes the fight. 3v3. Obey going to drop on top of them, but no. They will get shut down. The win condition no longer as ESA Black clutches up. At the end of the day, you have to hit your shots, and ESA Black did that.
What a play by ESA Black. They went through the fire and the flames, and they came out unscathed. The God Spot showed us that it'll get you pretty far, but it will not win you the game. It comes down to execution at the end, and most of these teams know that there are anybody in this lobby coming at you in the final circle can execute on their day, and it seemed to be ESA Black took full advantage of it. It's 2 ESA wins in a row. Black, white. Is red next? Fallout, what's up?
Yeah, I'll just keep rolling here. It's like a game.
Yeah, we didn't have a red. But you guys can get that in this scene, and I hope you picked it out, a team that basically was not involved, not threatened in almost the entire time, got literally second place. Now, this means that every other team in that position, very much just sitting on that tower, had they been there, could have probably gotten second place, which is why I say that these teams are all at the highest level, all equal skill. And if you attack or defend your map knowledge, once you are having the highest level of map knowledge, if you can move to your location fast enough, if you can get to where you know you're going to want to be, whether it's I want to attack from this angle, I want to understand that low ground might be the win there, which it was for ESA Black, or I want to make sure that I'm holding this high ground tower because no matter what happens, yes, we got to drop. Yes, the circle's not quite there. We will get a second, a third place. That will help us in this marathon of damage and this game that we have to play. This is how valuable knowing a map can be, which is why I'm taking my time to make this video for you guys. So you get the big picture. It is an important thing that will determine whether you win. And treating the map as if it's secondary is one of those things that players who I think are not meant to be high-level predators will do. But if you want to change that mentality, if you want to get to the highest of highs in this, you better understand that this map is going to be needed for you to study. And again, in just a second, I'm going to give you 5 ways you can go ahead and make this change so that you can literally learn this map right when it comes out. The fastest way, the most effective way that I know. But let's take a look at some of these spots here because they highlight a few of these spots that I think it's good to know. Barometer. The heart of Storm Point. This is going to be a big, big landing spot. The heart is always a landing spot. A spinning platform with a honeypot of loot is overlooked by a research tower that gives you a height advantage. But it's challenging to defend against attackers. Expect something very similar to what you saw. An incredible height advantage, giving you easy looks at kills, easy ways to duck down. But once it gets heavy and people start trying to push for the best spot, the God spot, as we call it in Pro League, then this is going to be a difficult spot to play. However, you can see the low ground, high ground. Pay attention to barometer. I think you're going to see a lot of action here when it comes to the moment. Command Center. It's inside of a mountain. It's massive. It's complex. It's got a lot of loot, and it allows for players to dive into its heart from the dropship, which is always a little scary, especially on Olympus. You know, Hammond Labs on Olympus is difficult because you have to fully commit, and if you do not get loot, you have nowhere to run. So these are areas I would stay away from personally, but for me, I think it's going to be great to mix up your gameplay and find a spot that you enjoy. It also seems like it's really good to do one of the longest zip lines in Apex to date. So the antenna, man, this place looks awesome. It's a drop location. There's a lot of catwalks you could see here. It reminds me of Tree in World's Edge. Mass communications dish. There's a lot of communications aspects here just from the art and the visual design. You can make your way across from the bottom, the top. So it will be a fun like final circle, but again, the bottom looks very, very exposed. High ground, catwalk, and also maybe a quick landing spot for an early skirmish. Doesn't feel like it's going to be a great end zone location. Checkpoint, though, watch out for this. Suspended over a dense forest, Checkpoint allows you to disengage from an intense fight in new ways. If you're overwhelmed, you can jump off the platform into a forest below. And this forest is really dense. Truly, it's one of those things where I look at the forest and I go, man, this feels like a different game. I almost felt like I was playing World of Warcraft or I felt like I was playing an MMO, the way that the forest looked, the way I was seeing, like, that's awesome. And so it's cool to be able to be in a building-like area with platforms running up here, a little building, a side building on each of these three platforms, but also jump into the forest. There's a little container there. This would be a very interesting end circle. Lightning Rod, you get the moving image here. Can we open this video in a new tab? Let's see what, look at this. Oh, baby, baby. Lightning Rod. This looks like a, oh, man, it's going to electrocute people. Wow, that looks super fun. It's the highest position on the map. It's a crucial stronghold if the ring ends here, which means that you're going to be able to land on this spot. Now, let me tell you, I'm doing a 5 rules video, which you guys love. We talk about this. We talk about the Shiv FPS, the 5 rules videos. I got my new one, guys. And it might be someone, I don't know, who you've been asking for. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Subscribe to that. I've got a hint that I'm talking about high ground and special places you can land. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Stormcatcher. This looks cool. Suspended over a large area with an interior location with a focus on close quarter combat. Position yourself on an exterior to open up long range combat against strong defendable bases. You've got North Pad, which looks beautiful here. A lot of open spaces inside. This reminds me of kind of estates, those hallways that ran amongst estates in Olympus, where you kind of could jump up on top and be in the grasslands, or you could be underneath and kind of running around. This looks like a really good spot and a couple of bunkers, but a very exposed area, especially if you're getting pushed. Maybe not the best place to hold, but a fun place to fight. The mill, located in the farthest western region, so that's going to be on your west side. The mill's circular interior space contains high-value loot and entryways towards the center river. Shipfall, this looks really cool as well. A ship. Things that are on the outskirts are typically rough landing spots unless you're in competitive play, because it does mean that once you win your fight, you don't have a lot of action unless the circle ends towards you. So keep that in mind. When you land on an outer location, you usually have to make your way towards somewhere, and that means you have the longest place to travel if it's not near you. So the center is typically the hottest. It's got the most fights, got the most action, and also it's the most central to anywhere you might have to travel, which means less distance, less teams you would have to run across. So little bit of a high risk, but high reward when you do that. Cenote Cave. By the way, have you ever dove in a cenote? I should pull up my iCloud now. I've actually jumped off and climbed down into a cenote with catfish living in it. It's awesome. I was in Mexico. It was a cool trip. I was actually in Ekbalam, if you guys have ever been there. It's a Mayan city in Mexico, in like the rural areas. Pretty sweet. Anyways, cenote, I love the name. Very isolated area. And then we start to get to all these locations. This is something that I think leads us to, how do I do it, Raynday? You've told us the locations. I want you guys to read this yourself. and understand the final point I'll be making after this, which is the most important. Here is how you do it. You get your cursory landing spots that interest you. You go to cenote, you go to ship, you go to barometer, you do a bunch of things when you start out playing. Then you decide the spot you like. Once you do that, you land there again and again and again. Some people may not agree with me. Some people may say, Evan, wherever the ring is, I'm going to land there. Find your landing spot. There's a reason that pro players land in the same location. This is a mistake. This is that third mistake most players make that pros do not. They abuse this, landing in the same spot. They have arguments over Twitter, drama, and actually broken up friendships because landing spots were contested. Why? Because it minimizes RNG. In a game that is all about RNG, random number generator aspects, what weapon will I get? What armor will I get? Who will be next to me? How many players will try to attack me versus attack another team? The one thing you can keep consistent is where you land. And why is that important? You learn rotations. You learn where to go. Because if you're at the north part of a map and you land there every day, you land there every time you play, and it gets a southern circle, well, you start to know that journey. You start to know what teams you run into, when you start to get into fights. You go to a western circle. Oh, okay, you know how you have to make across maybe the northwest, and you like to do the outskirts. Maybe you go through the center. You start to learn every rotation, but it's from the same spot. So it starts to be like a drive you take to school or to work or to your favorite grocery store. Exactly like, or your favorite fast food spot, right? Exactly like that becomes second nature to you. And when you keep mixing it up, ever been to an Airbnb or a new city and you don't know where to go because you don't know where you are relative to everything else? Yeah, it's a whole new thing. And instead of worrying about getting there on time, you worry about how do I even get there? This is why I think landing in the same spot is helpful to learn. Plus, that means you can focus on fighting, positioning, all those things that truly win fights, and leaving out where do I go in this new place that I land? Where's the good guns? Where are the good loots? Remember what we saw when the one chest challenge, when someone knows where the good loot is, it's a big game changer. 2, you learn other teams' rotations as well, meaning that you learn where teams are coming to attack you. When I was playing ranked and I was grinding up to diamond a couple of seasons ago, one of the things I noticed is we would find the same landing spot. And I've always done this with Apex, and I found it to work well. And I've talked to a lot of my friends. They've said that this works well also. I would land, and we would just move, and we would find that the fights happen at the same spots. Why is this? Because every map that you play is going to have choke points. And when you have choke points, there are only certain, it feels like there's a breadth of wild ways to move through this map. But when you're here and the circle's here, the truth is you go that way or you go that way. And there's a majority of times when the circle is here that people take a majority of the same route. And what you'll find if you really pay attention is people take the same route more and more so and more so. So you'll see, remember those chokes in Kings Canyon coming from bridges all the way out into kind of like the middle area of the map next to Market, and then where they started to, if you pull the right, you would go all the way down to Gauntlet. Like, you know, that like inner cave area, right? That area has so many fights. Why? Because that is a choke point that most people have to travel from many landing zones and run into each other. And that is something you start to learn, so you get to know, okay, I'm expecting a fight. I know someone's here. My eyes, my ears, my spidey senses are tingling. Number 3, you can learn a new area, minimizing the things you have to be alert about, concentrating on your fighting. When you know where the best weapon is, you know where to land, you know how to get your loot, your team, if you play with many people, know how to split up, find the loot, and get back to going, then you can focus on winning the fight. You can now focus on outmaneuvering people. You can now use that special little side jump or that little tap strafe that, you know, gets you from one area to the other because you've landed here all the time. You could be the king of your castle, the big fish in a small pond. It's a valuable thing. If you don't believe me, read David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell. You'll hear what I'm saying. And those who know, you know. Also, landing is like sport positions. You don't play a ton of them. You specialize in one. Guys, does LeBron James play point guard and center and small forward and power forward? Oh, wait, sorry. Well, he's one of the best in the world, okay? Does Messi play defender and center attacking midfielder and left wing? No, right? Usually you have a player, and in sports or in life, you have someone specialize in an area. Why is that? Why don't they play Thierry Henry up front and in the back line and in goalie when he was playing at Arsenal, running through the Invincibles, winning 52 games in a row. Why didn't they switch it up? Because he's the best forward in the world. Because that's what he's good at. And when you specialize, guys, you end up earning more. You end up being more successful. And so specializing, I think, is going to make sure that your experience is better. You don't have to believe me, but you got to give it a try, because ultimately when you try to keep changing, you become mediocre at everything versus great at one thing. And that greatness at one thing allows you to focus on your other skills that now you can start to try to improve. Looting. This is the big one. We've talked about this before. You become efficient on where the loot is, what it is. You know where to land. You know you can get there before everyone else. And you also know what to expect. And again, this is a big thing in a game that is so unexpected, like Apex Legends or a Battle Royale. Knowing what to expect is a huge advantage. But what's the biggest point, y'all? What is the final thing that I need to let you all know? It is not going to happen unless you practice, unless you learn the map and take the time to go out there and do it. It's not going to matter. But hopefully this video helped you get your mind right on what you need to do when Apex Legends Season 11's Escape comes out and Storm Point comes out as well. Let me know if you're hype about the map. Let me know if you have any tips for people to watch. And as always, like and subscribe and stay tuned. We got more videos coming out over the weekend and for the rest of the week before launch. Get hype. It's happening. As always, my friends, never give up, never stop gaming. I'll see you all next time.